Welcome to freedomlovin.com, where we focus on building freedom in an unfree world. Through personal development, location independence, and passive income strategies. Now here's your host, Kevin Koskela.
Welcome to Freedom Lovin'. This is Kevin, and this is episode number 28. And today I have, once again, for the third time actually, my friend Steve Michaels of keepyourassets.net. And we're going to talk about Bitcoin, which is a very popular topic these days because of the recent rise in price. Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. Yeah, so as the price has been going up with Bitcoin, I've had a lot of conversations with people that they want to get into it now that they see that it's going up, and they just don't know much about it, and they don't know how to do it. They don't really quite understand it. And so I think there's just only a tiny fraction of people out there that know much at all about Bitcoin. So I wanted to do a show about it, and I couldn't think of anyone better than you to bring on the show to talk about it. You're the one that actually introduced me to, gave me a lot of background on Bitcoin and got me interested in buying to begin with earlier this year. So why don't we just start with the question that I think a lot of people want to know is, what is Bitcoin?
Sure, you bet. Absolutely. And first, I just want to commend you on buying all those Bitcoins a year ago when they were a lot cheaper. So,
yeah, it's great to get in on something at that level, but and a lot of it is just luck, because I actually found out about Bitcoin in 2011, and I had a wallet, and I had basically an account. And I bought this guy lunch, and he sent me some Bitcoin, and I thought the whole thing was kind of cool, but I didn't think it would be worth anything. I didn't have any faith in it at all. And at that point, it was worth $27. And I remember it was like 2 weeks later, there was a couple of the sites got hacked, and the exchanges, and I happened to have my Bitcoins on one of those sites. And so I lost everything, and I just kind of gave up on the whole notion that Bitcoin was even like it was going to do anything. It was even worth looking into. So I didn't even think about it until I talked to our mutual friend Trace Mayer, who I think it was the end of 2012 was just crazy about Bitcoin, and so he kind of got me thinking about it. And then that's when I called you up, and I'm like, okay, what's the deal? Is this thing for real? And so yeah, after that, then I'm like, okay, I'm all in.
Awesome. Well, and it's a good point too for people who are just hearing about it, because you're going to hear these stories that people got in when it was at 25 cents or $27 like you, or $80 or $200, and as of the date of this recording, we're sitting at about 720 to 750 is the somewhere around there for the current price in U.S. dollars. But back then, I know you could probably share these feelings with me as well, but when we were buying at the all-time highs way back when it was $60 and $70 and $80, I mean, I was nervous. I mean, weren't you nervous at that point, trading and buying the all-time high of $80,
Oh, yeah, that was the thing. Like I when I first bought, it was $14, and it had been rising like every day. It was going up another dollar or something, and I remember I was nervous to get in at that point, and then it doubled. It was 20. The second time I bought, it was $27, and I was really nervous at that point, and I was like, I'm probably going to lose all my money on this. It's probably going to crash. It's just doubled, and I'm buying more. But then I just got this feeling like what's the point of not doing this? Like, I believe in the technology. I believe that it is going to change the future, and I think it's a good investment. So I bought it all the way as it was going up, as opposed to like what most people do is wait till it goes really high, and then they buy it, and then they then as it's going down, they buy it dollar cost average on the way down.
Right. Yeah. It's funny you say that, because my point is, even today at 700 plus per Bitcoin, we haven't even scratched the surface yet, and it really has to do with having the core fundamental understanding of what it is and what the potential ramifications are and what the value is. So I wanted to address that real quickly here just while we were talking, because I've been getting a lot of people lately asking me, gosh, is it a good time to buy now at, over 700? Should I wait for a pullback? And I just laugh because my standard answer whenever somebody asks me, is it a good time to buy? Or they say, when is a good time to buy? And I always say yesterday. And the point is today will be tomorrow's yesterday. And so stop waiting for a pullback, because if you believe in the true long-term value of it, it's going to be worth a lot more than it is today. And don't, if you have a long-term view, don't worry about the day-to-day fluctuations. This has potential, world-changing implications, and we'll go into that. I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but I kind of just wanted to mention, even at these all-time highs, personally, I don't believe we're anywhere near where it's going to be. And quite frankly, the opportunity is probably better now than it was a year ago or 2 years ago, due to the network effects and the fact that the regulatory environment is more defined right now. And so I think we're at the stage now where the floodgates and the masses will come in, and it's probably, in my opinion, if you just look from a pure investment standpoint, it's probably one of the lowest risk points to enter in. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out before we jump in, but I guess we better start out by explaining what Bitcoin is for those who are just hearing about it for the first time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have that video. There's a YouTube video, What is Bitcoin? It's animated, and it's a really easy 1 minute and 30-second video, I think. That's on freedom11.com. But yeah, why don't we get into it?
Sure. I won't go into too much detail then, because there's tons of stuff on the web that goes into all the mechanics under the hood, but the most important thing people need to understand is, if you're just to simplify it, it's two things. It's a currency, but it's also a protocol. And the currency, a way to look at it is cash for the internet, or cash in the information age. And just imagine if you can take cash out of your pocket, squeeze it into your computer, and at the click of a mouse, send it halfway around the world, and have it arrive there a few seconds later. That's what Bitcoin is. It allows you to transfer value immediately with no chargebacks and no middlemen and no central governments that can stop it. So it's, some key bullet points that people should take note of is the fact that it is distributed in a decentralized nature and a peer-to-peer nature, much like the BitTorrent or the Napster type systems. And what that means is there's no central point of failure or no central point of attack, because certainly politicians and central bankers and existing power structures love to have control of the money supply, because that's how they control the world. But they can't do that with Bitcoin. So it truly does strip that power away from them. And it's as simple as sending an email. So I won't go into any more detail what works under the hood, but that's kind of the quick intro there.
Yeah, and it's basically, how would you define, what is it that people are sending when they're sending Bitcoins? It's bits of information, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question, because there's a limited supply of Bitcoins that are in circulation, and there's a trickling amount coming in, which will eventually cap out, which makes it an excellent store of value, because it does have limited supply. It does have scarcity. And all it is bits of information. And what you're doing is you're sending you're transferring your rights to certain Bitcoins to someone else whenever you make a payment to them. And it's all done through high-level encryption that is simplified for people like us. And there's various programs you can download on the web. You can pull down and run on your computer or your smartphone. And I can actually just suggest a few that I like. First and foremost, the central website for Bitcoin is called bitcoin.org. And they have links there. You can download various Bitcoin wallets. A wallet is a kind of like a physical wallet in digital form, and it allows you to store your Bitcoins on your computer. So you actually become your own bank. And so the wallets I like to use, for a beginner, there's one called blockchain.info, and that's actually their website as well. So blockchain.info. And that's a good way for someone to get started, because they can download it to their computer, and you can actually sync it up to your smartphone, so you can have access to it from your smartphone with this program. Now, of course, Apple and the Apple Store, they don't like competition. It sounds like they have plans to come out with their own in-house currency or payment system. So you probably won't be able to pull it up on an Apple phone, but you can pull it up on an Android. And there's tons of other wallets on Android. But blockchain.info, just for a beginner, that's the first one that I would recommend. But there's two critical things that I always like to get right out front, because we are dealing with cash. And if you don't manage your funds, you can't go to the FDIC, you can't go to your bank, you can't go to your credit card company. Even if you lose your money, it's gone forever. Mm-hmm. And so two things a person should do with blockchain.info is number one, set up what's called two-factor authentication. And all that really is you can go into your security settings, and what it'll do is in addition to a username and password to access your account, it will also send you a text with a 5-digit code that's only good for a very short period of time that you would need to enter to get into your account. And what this means is a criminal hacker who maybe has stolen your username and password somehow. Maybe they have malicious software on your computer. What they have to do is also have possession of your phone to get that code before they can log into your account. So it's a very strong way to protect your Bitcoins and keep bad guys out. So, but other than that, there's a couple other programs that people really like. One of my favorites is called Multibit, so multibit.org. Mm-hmm. And another one that's really popular is called Electrum. And so that's a quick and easy way for someone to get started there.
Yeah, and it is really easy. I just I actually was going to do a donation. We were talking about this before the show, but I was looking to do a donation to this cause that my friend was promoting, and I asked her if I could do it in Bitcoin, and she had heard of Bitcoin but didn't know anything about it, and so she just said, well, why don't I just set up a wallet then? So I told her about the wallets, and she said, why don't I just set up a wallet? And then you could send it to me, and then we can announce it and say we got our first Bitcoin donation. So we did that, and it was like literally 15 seconds. She sends me back another email. Okay, here's my address, and she had it all set up. So it is super easy to set up. Now, okay, so then you set up your wallet, and then you can start sending and receiving Bitcoin.
Absolutely, yes. But then you've got to get some, right?
Yeah, so that's the next question: is how do you buy it?
Sure. So one way is just to announce to the world that you accept Bitcoin for your products or services, or you accept it in trade for anything that you have to offer. So that's a great way, just to put a link on your website or an announcement, and just let it be known. And then once you've done that, let's say you want to actively purchase some Bitcoins, you have several options. My favorite option is going to a website like localbitcoins.com, which is in keeping with the whole decentralized nature and anti-bank philosophy that Bitcoin was originated from. And what it allows you to do on this website is you can type in your zip code or your city, and you can find local people in your area that are buying and selling Bitcoin, and so you can acquire some that easily. Meet them at a coffee shop, and you hand over $20, $100, $1,000, and they'll transfer them right into your wallet, and that's how you can get started. Now, there's other services that you can use where you can actually open up accounts on some of the major exchanges, or and you have to go through ID verification and all that stuff, which, since you're dealing with the banking system. But if you don't mind doing that, that's pretty good too. So a couple of services just to mention that at the present moment for U.S.-based people is a wallet service called Coinbase.com. They're a company that you can buy and sell Bitcoins directly from your bank account. So they're pretty decent. Major exchange is called Bitstamp.net, or another exchange is called Mt. Gox. So that's MTGOX.com. And lots of them in Canada. They're popping up all over the world. There's several new ones coming up in the U.S., but those three I've mentioned have a lot of volume. Unless you're in China, the world's largest exchange is BTCChina.com, and they're doing tremendous business out there. So lots of ways to get Bitcoin.
Yeah, Cool. Now, so let's go back to the investment aspect of it. Let's start with some of the arguments against it. Do you think that the government can stop Bitcoin? That's the thing I hear a lot. Is like people will say, "Oh yeah, that sounds great on paper, but if it gets big enough, the government's just going to shut it down."
Great question. I get that asked all the time too, and because when people really understand that it takes power away from people who control money and control people, they immediately realize that those people in power are not going to want to give that up. And
Yeah.
so you have to look at what tools they have to attack Bitcoin. Traditionally, the tools they've had traditionally that would have been effective aren't effective anymore because of the nature of Bitcoin. So let's look at those real quickly here. Um, in the past, if there was anything they didn't like, they would simply go shut a business down or shut a company down or seize the assets, so on and so forth. But because Bitcoin is decentralized and it exists on every user's computer, the worst they can do is attack one individual user, but they can't bring down the whole network because there's no central bank that holds everybody's Bitcoins.
Right.
And it was designed that way for that very purpose, so that no one could take it down. No one power structure can take it down. So it's a lot like file sharing and Napster and Mega Upload and those places. When you have a peer-to-peer file sharing BitTorrent type situation, it's like a game of whack-the-mole. You attack one spot, it pops up somewhere else. And so that leaves them with the only other thing they can do is maybe try and outlaw it or maybe try and ban it from their jurisdiction. But because Bitcoin is a global currency, any country that attempts to restrict it, or the more restrictive they are, or if they do an outright ban, all they're going to do is push that money and that innovation to other countries. So they actually shoot themselves in the foot and affect their own economy. So there will be backwards thinking countries that aren't as friendly, and the U.S. has kind of been that way, but I think they're starting to see the light. But they've lost a lot of ground to places like Canada and Germany, who have openly embraced Bitcoin for the most part,
Yeah.
or they've at least agreed to back off and leave it alone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I found that what you were saying about how it's if they wanted to really go after Bitcoin, it would turn into kind of a whack-a-mole type of thing where there's just there's just not enough resources for them to continue to put it down. But they did have a huge bust. The FBI had a huge bust with Silk Road, and that was the site where you could get a lot of things, including illicit drugs. And the government didn't like that too much, so the FBI came in and caught the guy that was running it, and they shut down the site. But I just heard that it's back. Within less than a month later, the site is up and running again, and someone else is running it, and nobody knows who this person is or who these people are.
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I think the day they shut it down, within a few days, there was 4 other, dark web websites offering the same products and services. So.
Yeah, it's very unlikely that they could have much of an effect on Bitcoin itself. But the other argument that I get is it's a Ponzi scheme, it's a pyramid scheme, or that it just looks like a fraud. What do you think about that?
Sure. Well, the nice thing is what people have to do is they have to look at the proper definitions of what a Ponzi scheme is or a pyramid scheme is, and when you do that, you realize that it has nothing to do with those things because Bitcoin is a voluntary open source protocol that has a limited supply of coins and a whole system of transferring them. Nobody is forced to use it. And but it has real use and value, and because of that real use and value, people are bidding the prices up because as more people see that value, they want some, and so the simple laws of supply and demand kick in, and demand supply is fixed and demand is rising, and so when that happens, you see the price goes up. But like any asset, it can go through periods of what they call overbought or over enthusiastic. The market gets ahead of itself and it kind of bids it up farther than it needed to be, and the pool of buyers dries up and it collapses, and you have a correction. Mm-hmm. So you look at any, comparing it to like a stock, you look at any long-term bull market, it's not a straight line up. You see these peaks and valleys along the way, but the general trend still continues to be up. And I think that's where we're at with Bitcoin. We've had several meteoric rises and then fantastic corrections, only to be stabilized and then moved on to higher highs down the road. And, I remember the first time I got in was in June of 2011. And I heard about it over a weekend, and it was trading at about $5 or $6. And I think the first major news article came out about the Silk Road, the drug dealing website. And they talked about how they could buy and sell anonymously and private, or at least very privately, using this new digital currency. And because of my background and my interest in individual liberty and economics, I thought, boy, this is going to change the world if it really is what they say it is.
Yeah.
And if these drug dealers can use it, then anyone can use it. So, but by the time I could figure out where to buy it or who to find, I couldn't get it anywhere. The price had ran up to $30 a Bitcoin, and I ended up being successful buying it. And of course, the very next day, it crashed down to 5 or 6. So I was depressed,
Yeah.
But I held on to it, and we went through several of these periods in the last 2.5 years, where today we're at $700 a Bitcoin. I wish I would have bought a whole lot more at 30 if I could afford it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme is people just have to sit down and look at what is the value of this currency and this protocol. And if I were to try and summarize it, it would be really hard to do, but I'll take a stab at it. The benefits are instant payments, little or no transaction cost, no middlemen to slow down the payment transfer. Like bank wires can take 3 days and cost you $40, $50, and Bitcoin is instant, like sending an email. So it's going to put businesses like Western Union out of business unless they figure out how to incorporate Bitcoin in their business model. And so if you own Western Union stock, you might be talking to management, tell them to embrace Bitcoin, or you better sell your stock in the company. So, but that's just one thing. So you have frictionless, no middleman, low cost, instant transfers, which that alone makes its potential value huge. Another benefit is the transactions are irreversible. So it's not like someone can come to like your website and buy something from you, and you deliver the merchandise, and then they turn around and initiate a chargeback, and now you're out the money and you're out the merchandise. If you're using PayPal or credit cards, PayPal is notorious for shutting people out of their own funds and reversing transactions. So it's just a superior payment method. But the thing I like about it is you don't have to get anybody's permission to use it. Mm-hmm. If you open up a PayPal account, you have to give your life story, and they have to approve you. If you go to a bank and open up a bank account, they have to approve you. No such thing as an offshore bank account anymore because they do the same things. So it's just it's truly the people's money, if you want to look at it that way. And so because of that, it is the new ultimate offshore bank account.
Yeah.
It's the place to store your money privately, and nobody has to know where that is unless you choose to disclose it to them. So that's something
right.
I could talk hours on. So
yeah. But Steve, what about the children? Will the children?
Yes,
will the children be safe?
Children will not be safe. It's funny you say that, because anytime a new technology that comes out and threatens existing power structures, just like the internet when it first came out, they thought it was a tool for pornographers, drug dealers, and other sorts of bad people. But sure, just like any currency, it can be used for bad things. But I think the number one currency that's used for the most violent acts is the U.S. dollar. Any argument you make for Bitcoin being used for bad things is equally and more valid for U.S. dollars. And I would make the argument that Bitcoin makes the world a safer place. And just give two examples. Number one, since we've been talking about Silk Road and these dark web, drug dealing websites or pharmacies or herbal care centers, whatever you want to call them, it helps remove the violence in those transactions, because you don't have to meet someone in a back alley to buy something that you want to use for personal use that's nobody else's business.
Right.
And so you reduce a lot of the potential danger. And then also on these websites, you can look at the ratings and the feedback of the merchant who you're buying goods from, and they have a reputation to protect. They, if you meet a guy in a back alley, you may or may not be getting what you bargained for. So it removes a lot of violence there. But on a grander scale, the biggest purveyors of violence and aggression are governments who are in their foreign adventure wars of attacking resources and those things. How do they finance those wars? Well, what they do is they crank up the printing presses and push that cost onto all the other holders of the currency in the form of inflation and or indebtedness. But you can't do that with Bitcoin. You can't just crank up the presses to go wage your own personal war to take the resources of some other country. So using Bitcoin is a way to engage in the quiet revolution if you want a more peaceful world. And that's the thing that I'm really excited about. And you take it on a grander scale, just from a trust issue. Most major governments are very wary of other governments, obviously, and so they have to trust each other when they're doing exchanges, but they're at risk. And a good example is China. China accepts U.S. dollars for their goods and services, but they do it reluctantly because what happens is that they're getting assets that are being devalued. I think right now the Fed is buying $85 billion worth of mortgages every month, which is basically money printing.
Yeah.
So these governments reluctantly do business with each other and accept each other's currencies, but they don't have to now, because now they have a new digital currency that is trustless, and they know it's not going to be devalued, and so countries are going to get to the point to where they stop trusting each other and they'd rather trust a math equation,
right,
or open source code. And so that's why I feel Bitcoin has the potential to become the new global reserve currency. And if that happens, we're going to see the average price per Bitcoin, $1 million or more. So my personal opinion as of right now is that as long as Bitcoin price is under $1 million, I'm buying as much as I can. And every time I get extra money, I buy more.
Yeah, we're on the same page. So, and we've talked about some of your predictions with the price going where it's headed. Where do you think, like in kind of the short term, medium term, where do you think it's going, and why is that?
Sure. What's interesting is just in the last 12 months, we've seen it go up by, 6,000% as of right now, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And so 60 times that value has gone up, 50, 60 times. But right now we're getting the great exposure in the press, the Senate hearings this past week as of early November 2013. We're very positive. The world is, Bitcoin has just entered a new era of respectability and legitimacy. And so the next 12 months could grow faster than the last 12 months. So if you just think about it, if it goes 50 times its current value in the next 12 months, we are seeing some serious adoption there. And I've never seen anything like this where the potential, and again, here now it sounds like that Ponzi or pyramid scheme because the numbers are so unbelievable. But I mean, if you would have taken $50,000 12 months ago and bought Bitcoin, it would be worth, I don't know, what's 60, yeah, $50,000. I got to do the math. Sorry, they say you never do math, right? But on a radio show or something. But that's $3 million.
Yeah,
you would have today if you would have put that 12 months ago. But say you only have $5,000 that if you did that a year ago, today that's worth $300,000.
Yeah.
So what if that repeats itself in the next 12 months? That's why the price is where it is now, because people see that potential. So yeah, I don't know. I would say on the low end, again, my crystal ball is as good as anybody else's, but I would be shocked if it's not $10,000 of Bitcoin in 12 months. But I think it could be a lot higher.
Yeah, and you had mentioned something about like the world, all the money that's out there being invested in the world, and you take you take like 10% of that. Does it say 10% of the money that's available, it goes into Bitcoin? Then you have, I think you came up with a price of 140,000.
Yeah, so that number that I used there is the offshore tax havens or banking safe
Right.
havens they call them, where people park their money.
That's right.
And these are places like Bahamas, Switzerland, the Cayman Islands. Cyprus was another one, and these were places where wealthy people parked their money due to favorable privacy laws and low taxes and wealth protection. And so there's $30 trillion sitting in these offshore or tax haven or safe haven bank accounts around the world. But what's happening is the total banking system is broken, and we saw that in Cyprus, where the banking system basically failed, and they had what was called a bail-in, which was basically a bank robbery in reverse. It was where the bank robs the depositors, and so if you had over $100,000 in the bank, they took it.
Right.
And so that was the shot heard around the world that said, hey, the banking system as a whole, but specifically these safe havens, are not safe places for your wealth anymore. So now these extremely wealthy people and the average person as well is looking to, where can I put my money where it will be respected and protected? Mm-hmm. And the banks are no longer that place. And so capital always flows to where it's respected and protected, and that's what Bitcoin offers. So there's $30 trillion in these safe havens. If only 10% of that, which is $3 trillion, goes into Bitcoin, you divide that by the total number of Bitcoins that will ever be in existence, which is 21 million Bitcoins. And there's actually only 12 million in circulation right now because they haven't had the full issuance yet. Mm-hmm. That's where I came up with that $140,000 of Bitcoin. So, I mean, anything under that or under $1 million, I'm buying.
Yeah, absolutely. So where is Bitcoin being used currently?
This is exciting. I just bought pizza dinner the other night with Bitcoins. You're seeing, in the online world, Bitcoin is the currency of the online world of the internet, and it's growing. It still doesn't do as much business as credit cards, of course, but the time is rapidly approaching that it will. So you can buy just about anything online with your Bitcoins. But you're seeing a lot of more bricks and mortar businesses that you can walk in and buy with. But just one of my favorite websites is a website called gift.com. It's GYFT.com. And they accept Bitcoin. And what they do is they sell gift cards. So I can buy Amazon.com gift cards with Bitcoin, and then I can go shop on Amazon.com. I can, go to one of many restaurants. I can buy a gift card and eat dinner there. I had dinner the other night at Chili's, and I bought a gift card. Mm-hmm. I can buy clothes from, I went to JCPenney's and bought a few things the other day, and I paid with Bitcoins, and I used the gift app on my phone. Mm-hmm. There's another service called egifter.com, which is basically the same thing. You can spend your Bitcoins on gift cards. But, you can buy gold and silver. You can buy just about anything now with Bitcoins. And, if there's a business out there that you want to do business with and they don't accept it, I would predict that within 12 to 24 months they will be accepting Bitcoin. So we are going to see huge adoption very quickly, I think.
Yeah, and there's some bigger places now that are starting to accept Bitcoin, like WordPress.com. If you want to get hosting on your website, you can pay them in Bitcoin.
Right, WordPress, Namecheap.com. I buy a ton of domain names and services from them. I love their interface, and I use Bitcoin all the time. That's a great service. So yeah, you can find just about any internet-type related service that'll take Bitcoin.
Yeah, and then Subway restaurant, right? There's like 3 Subways right now that are taking it.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing a press release from the corporate headquarters or the franchisor, Subway themselves, because I bet they're wondering what's going on. And I think if they play this right, they can seize it and come out and make a statement and then push it out to all their other Subways.
Yeah.
And they could get a lot of great press for it. So if you're a merchant in your town, or if you have a physical location, I know most of our audience here is internet related, but you may have a family member or a friend, or someone who runs a bricks and mortar business. Start offering or let it be known that you accept Bitcoin. You can get a lot of good free press out of it, especially if you're the first one in your area, contact the local, TV and radio station. You'll get a ton of press, and you'll get a bunch of new customers with, that'll be happy to come spend their Bitcoins there. And now you can acquire them at your cost of goods, and you don't have to pay retail for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. So a little devil's advocate here. So if I have Bitcoins and I'm, living in this world where most things are priced in dollars, or in this country anyway, and what's my incentive to use Bitcoin? Because Bitcoin keeps rising, and it's an investment with it that it's gaining value. Why would I want to spend my Bitcoin if I can just spend my fiat dollars?
Sure, I love that question because it certainly depends on what your goals and motives are. But I just explain how I do it. Number one, I believe in the long-term value. So whenever I get dollars, I hate dollars. I believe it's riskier holding dollars than it is holding Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And so I convert to Bitcoins as soon as possible. So I do keep a little bit of cash around, just for emergency or whatever. But with the Bitcoins, I find that they're an appreciating asset. So, to give you an example, when I went out to dinner the other night, that was about a $50 dinner. But my true cost for that dinner was probably about $2. And the reason is I bought those Bitcoins back when they were $5 a piece. Mm-hmm. And so the reason I'm spending them is because I'm getting a tremendous discount on that dinner. Mm-hmm. So sure, they can go up more value tomorrow, but I've already benefited to the tune of 95% of the value of that meal. So I do have incentive to spend them, and because I got them really cheap. And you look at that, people who build wealth in Bitcoin, they still need everyday products and services, and a lot of they'll be able to spend them, and they're finding their purchasing power is greatly improved. So a person doesn't have to spend them. I'm a net accumulator. So even though I put at the beginning of each pay period, I put my money in Bitcoins, I still put a percentage into long-term savings. So my actual balance of Bitcoins grows every month, even though I spend my day-to-day living expenses with Bitcoins.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. And then you can buy it. Like if you are buying stuff in Bitcoin, you can always turn around the same, like, a minute later and buy the Bitcoins back with dollars if you want to avoid losing out on any kind of spike in the price, right?
Right, and that's really a neat way to help bootstrap the economy in your local area. And what I recommend everyone do who's listening is go to a site like localbitcoins.com and list yourself there as a buyer and seller of Bitcoin, and that'll accomplish a couple of things. Number one, it will bring people to you who are looking to buy or sell, and what it does, it ensures you liquidity for your Bitcoins. So if you need to convert in and out of cash, you'll have a steady supply of buyers and sellers that you can transact with, and so you're providing them a service. They're providing you a service. Mm-hmm. And what we've done is we've become each other's personal bankers, and we cut out the middleman. We've cut out the Federal Reserve. We've cut out the politicians, and now we can transact directly with one another and make the world a better place.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love seeing these Bitcoin groups growing. When we first started going, it would be like 3 or 4 people, and now you go and it's like 15, 20 people, right?
Right. Yeah. So everyone listening should look in their area. Go to meetup.com, see if they can find a local Bitcoin group, and join that group and go get involved and learn and build your own trusted network of people that you can trade with, and avoid the banking system entirely, because that's where all the friction is in trying to acquire Bitcoin. If you go try and open up an account with someone, it takes weeks of verification, and they have limits, and it's a hassle, and now you might as well just go through a bank, mm-hmm. and use dollars. But Bitcoin is designed to replace that, and if you recognize that, just boycott the banks and transact with each other. And if there's no meetup groups in your area, start one. Even if you don't know much about it, chances are if you start one, other people will show up, and you're going to learn from each other, and before you know it, you're helping helping bring about more adoption.
Yeah, definitely. So now you're calling yourself a Bitcoin consultant. Can you talk about that and just what does that mean?
Sure, absolutely. What I found is that because it's a new technology, people have a lot of questions, and everything from the economic questions to just the simple mechanics of how it works, how to buy some, how to how to liquidate them, and probably most importantly, how to safely secure them. And so what I've done is just responded to the market demand for people who need help, onboarding into the system, because this is like the internet when it first started. There is a huge land of opportunity, and I find there's a lot of folks that especially the older generation that haven't grown up with technology all their lives, but they recognize that their savings is being destroyed through inflation, and they want a safe place to park those funds. And so there's a big demand for people out there who can go out and provide those services. So if you are interested in this kind of thing and you're looking for a career or an income opportunity, and you can get passionate about it, there's a big opportunity in your area to go help people get involved, and you can profit from that. And so that's what I do. I do that in my area. And I also consult over the phone and email, so people can always contact me, and I can help answer your questions. Yeah, but there's a big demand for that, and I think there will be for many years. Mm-hmm. And you'll be, it's a great way to acquire Bitcoins too, because you're providing a product and a service, and you're getting paid for it.
Awesome. So if someone wants to get a hold of you and ask you some questions, or get some Bitcoin, or exchange, or set up their website or something like that, where should they go?
Sure, you bet. They can just contact me right off of the website at keepyourassets.net, and places that you can buy Bitcoins through. You find local traders around you at localbitcoins.com. Let me give. I've got a hidden link on my website that's all about Bitcoin, and you can't find it unless you know where it's at. So I'll give that out here for people who are on the podcast. The website is keepyourassets.net/Bitcoin. So it's just the singular version of Bitcoin, no S at the end. So keepyourassets.net/Bitcoin. And there's a lot of good info in there.
Cool. And I'll put that in the show notes too, so people can just click on the link.
Great.
Well, that's awesome. And then I just want to mention, people might be wondering, where do you go to find the price of Bitcoin? Because there's so many. If you Google the price of Bitcoin, you just get so many sites that are giving you different ideas on what the price is. And we found that bitcoinaverage.com seems to be about the most accurate, because they just take a global average of all the exchanges that are out there, and there are a lot, and they give you a price that's the average of all those exchanges. And so that seems to be the most accurate price, although Bitstamp is one of the ones that's kind of recognized as kind of what would you say, like the real price?
Yeah, and that changes. As an example, this last week we had a huge run up in the price, and then Bitstamp had some growing pains, so they had trouble getting money in and off their exchange, and their API went down, and so they had several different things. They failed the stress test because of all the swamped demand, and so the price on that exchange actually lagged about $300 lower than the most active exchange, which is in China, btcchina.com. And so that's why I've actually moved. I used to use Bitstamp as my primary source to price, but now I go to the one you mentioned, which is bitcoinaverage.com, and it takes a weighted average of all the exchanges around the world, and it gives you a more comprehensive idea of what the price is. Now, one thing I do want to mention, though, and this is important, is for any of you that have ever followed like gold and silver spot prices, you have what's called a spot price, and you also have what's called a street price. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is if you go directly on an exchange and buy or sell, you're going to get real close to those quoted prices. But if you buy in your local neighborhood and you walk into a coin dealer, they've got to make money for storing and securing and making a market. So you're going to pay, maybe 3 to 4% higher or more, depending on the market at the time. And I've seen it as high as 10, 15% more. And when you go to sell, you're going to have a little bit of a discount too. But that's a what I call the street price. So if you want that lower price, you got to go through all the account verification hassles and know your customer things, which is all anti-privacy, and it's all you're using the existing banking system, which I don't recommend. But it is a useful tool, so you can go get those lower prices by opening those accounts. But you lose all convenience and you lose all privacy. So personally, I prefer to use local Bitcoins, find local traders, local buyers and sellers, and I recommend that people develop their own trusted network of people that they buy and sell with, so that whenever any one of you needs to buy or sell, you put the word out, and you could oftentimes get better prices than you see on those exchanges, because you're in effect making a market amongst your friends, and it's instant. You don't have to wait for banks to be open, for wires to be delivered, for accounts to be verified. You meet your buddy at Starbucks, have a coffee, talk about whatever you want, and buy or sell Bitcoin.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, that's my favorite way as well. So great. Well, Steve, it's been awesome having you on the show again, and that was a wealth of information about Bitcoin. I'm sure it helped a lot of people understand what's going on with the Bitcoin world. So thanks so much for coming on again, and yeah, good luck with everything.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Absolutely. And if anyone here listening, if you like this show and you want to do us a quick favor, you can just go to iTunes, open up your iTunes, and go to the Freedom Lovin' podcast and give us a quick rating and review. That would be much appreciated, and I will read that. I'll go read your review on the next show. So that's about it for this week. I'll have another show coming up in a few days. Otherwise, go out there and build some freedom, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Freedom Lovin' Podcast. To break free today, head on over to freedomlovin.com and download our free guide. 7 practical tips to living free in an unfree world.